7, you're going to pair your A 4-inch squares with your B 4-inch squares. You're going to sew that line using your marker on the diagonal on the A squares. Then you're going to put your pins in the way you're going to be sewing, and you're going to sew on each side of that drawn line. So it's going to look something like this when you get done. I have 1/4 inch away from the line on both sides, and then I'm going to take my ruler, and after I've sewn on each side of the line, I'm going to cut it from corner to corner on that drawn line like that. And then I want to press towards the darker one, which will be the B square. Actually, you want to press half of them towards the B and half towards the A. And I'm going to show you why. We're going to just finger press these because we're going to get our block ruler out here, and we're going to trim these down. These have been oversized, so they should be bigger than the 4.5 that you need them, or 3.5 that you need them to be after you've sewn them. So remember, with the block, up in the upper left corner is the side with all the seams. That's my upper left corner. On the lower right corner, I put the words block. So the words block will be, well, that one didn't get pressed all the way. If you don't get it pressed all the way, the ruler just doesn't want to fit in there as nice as it usually does. Oh, so much better. So I'm going to have 3.5. I want these to be 3.5. And if you notice, it doesn't quite come to the 3.5. So on these blocks, I'm going to have to trim all 4 sides. So I'm going to start with 2 sides. The right side. And then I'll turn my mat and the right side. And get those little scraps out of the way. And then you're going to slide the ruler down till you get to the other 2 sides. Now my 3.5 is perfect. Is perfect here, and it's perfect there. And what's left over is what I need to trim off. So I'm going to trim that off, and I'm going to trim that off. Now I'm going to do that again. But this is one of the squares that I press where the seams are laying under the white, and that becomes my high side. So that goes in the upper left corner, and my words block go on the bottom right, and I try to line it up with the 3.5. Now look at this one. This one is almost lining up perfectly, so I only have to do 2 sides. Sometimes you have to do all 4 sides, sometimes you do 3 sides. And if you're really lucky, you get to only do 2 sides. So I was living right when I made this set, because I'm only going to have to trim 2 sides, and then I have my perfect half square triangles. Except I need to get that little dog ear out because I don't want that in my quilt. Now I have 2 pieces that are pressed in opposite directions, and we need to make these into our sides of our block. And the reason for pressing one this way and one this way is that when I get these together, they're pressed in opposite directions, and it makes this really flat down here. It makes it just sew together really easy, because this one's going that way and this one's going this way. And so once you sew those together, you're going to have a unit like this, and you need to have 4 of these units. Now the final pressing of this unit can be done a couple of ways. I chose to just press it to one side, which is probably the easiest way. But you could press this open, and when you press that open, then when you sew this to your center block, you see exactly where you have to hit. Right at the top of those dark blue triangles is where my seam is. And if I hit right at the top of those triangles, then I get a perfect intersection on this side. So you have a choice. You can press the one way or you can press these two seams open. You need to make 4 of these units. After you make your side pieces, then you have to make the center, and you're going to sew the 2.5 to 6.5 A and C, the 2 C's to each side of this, and that will become the center. Now we have 3 rows we're going to make. Row 1 is the top row. You're going to sew a square to each side of this unit. You do the same thing for row 3, and then row 2 you sew one of these units to the center, and then that, and you sew the 3 rows together. This is a signature block, so if you were making this for like a wedding quilt, you would probably put a solid like a white muslin in the center so that the people could sign the block. If you haven't done that for somebody in your family that's getting married, they really treasure those signature quilts. This is block 7.